If the zombie apocalypse happens, what do you see yourself doing? Are you running away from the filthy, mindless, transformed humans whose only aim is your delicious insides? Do you see yourself alone and terrified in an urban wasteland? Your life would be a living hell. But for our protagonist Akira Tendo, these questions don't even cross his mind, despite watching the apocalypse basically happening outside of his apartment. He just slurps his noodles just like a zombie eating tasty intestines. In fact, he doesn't appear to fully understand what's happening. He looks at the screen with his bloodshot eyes, saying pointless things like the outside must be heaven compared to the office. He looks at the time on his smartphone and he realizes that he should be sleeping, because tomorrow he needs to go to work. He needs to go to work again and again and again. How many times has he wished not to go back to the office? As he sits alone inside his apartment, filled with bags of uncollected trash, he truly despairs for one thing: to not go to work again. To fully understand what is happening, let's rewind the time to 3 years ago. Akira Tendo, a fresh graduate from a good university, filled with ambitions and hopes and dreams for his desired job, has just landed a position at a renowned production company. The company CEO introduces him to the production department where he will be working. His first impression is that the department is filled with lively employees. This is a promising work environment for someone like him who is just starting in life. He thinks about the commercials he's going to plan and the big accounts he's going to manage. Perhaps he may even meet celebrities. What a dream it is. His daydreaming gets better when he bumps into Saori Otori from the accounting department. She has a sweet voice, a kind face, and a voluptuous body. Tendo can feel cherry blossoms falling as he looks at her. Right there and then, he's fallen in love. And that's a good thing. Truly it is, because his feelings for Saori will be the only thing that will hold his sanity for the next 3 years to come. That night, Tendo joins his seniors for an after-work dinner. It's a normal practice in Japan where senior employees get to know the new ones. He reveals his university and that he used to play rugby. One of them comments that he must be a valuable and dependable asset to their department. Tendo is touched by this statement, although he honestly thinks he may not be what they expect him to be. Then he sees Saori from across the table. She sends him a cheery smile and a toast. This makes Tendo become more motivated to prove himself, so he can be worthy of Saori's praise. A few hours pass before it's time to go home, but to his confusion and surprise, his co-workers prepare to go back to the office. Because he's a newbie who wants to impress his seniors with his work ethic, he joins them. Tendo doesn't expect to do an all-nighter on his first day at his job, but it seems like everyone expects him to do so. After doing his job, he falls asleep on his table, and when he wakes up, his co-workers are already greeting him good morning. He doesn't even have a chance to change clothes. Then he spends another all-nighter on his second day. On the third day, that's when he finally gets a chance to go home. Poor Tendo doesn't clean himself and plops straight onto his bed. That's when he realizes he must have been employed at one of those so-called exploitative corporations. He almost quits his job. But then he thinks he shouldn't feel this way. It's only the fourth day. He shouldn't be feeling work fatigue this early on. He slaps his face with cold water as he reminds himself that this is his dream job. He worked hard for it, therefore he shouldn't give up early on. He's going to prove that newbies have some backbones to show. Tendo shows off the employee benefits that the company has, if only to gaslight himself into thinking it's still worth it to stay. First, there are annual paid vacations, anniversary day off, and mental health days. That's a strong consideration, except that no one has really availed of those benefits because work comes first. Employees and bosses also encourage good-natured competition, but the wrong kind of competition. They compare among themselves how much unpaid overtime they can afford for the month. Sure, some kind co-workers sometimes give Tendo his dinner, but only because they make more money than him. Their department head, Mr. Kasugi, is supportive, but only in a harsh, abusive way. It's normal to see employees crying after being shouted at by him. Last but not least, employees promote healthy living to each other, but only to fuel their capacity to do more work over time. One can say that the environment in the office is more work-friendly than employee-friendly and disregards human necessities. It's a surprise that Tendo stayed for 2 years in the company. The further he stays, the more he fantasizes about a meteor that will hit the company and save him from the misery of working. As if to make his life more meaningless, he finds out that Saori has been the CEO's mistress for a long time. And the CEO has no qualms about the time and people, as long as he can have a sexy time with the pretty accountant. The only person that's keeping his sanity is not as perfect as he would like to think. He starts thinking about quitting the job, but he's become so absorbed in the work culture that he can't justify one valid reason to leave. He tells himself there's no time to find another job, that he can't bear to think of other people picking up after his work, and that there are worse companies out there. In his third year of work, he's become accustomed to the unforgiving conditions of work life. Clients become more abusive of their position, and his supervisor seems to have perfected the act of gaslighting. There are times he gets annoyed that the barriers at the train station are closed. He can't jump into the railway and end it all if something's blocking him. Then he'll have a good reason not to go to work. Tendo's eyes have gone blank. His brain can't even process the news broadcasted, whether it's about exploitative companies or about the epidemic caused by unknown bite marks. He has become a zombie, a slave to the hustling and work culture that has infected his country for so long. We go back to the present, where he falls down after slurping noodles and is inattentive about the news. He wishes to fall asleep so he can never wake up again, and yet he puts on his clothes and gets ready for work. He gets out of his apartment to go over his wretched daily routine when he notices the letter in his letterbox. He has forgotten to pay for his bicycle parking space. Not wanting to leave this chore unresolved, Tendo goes to his building manager to negotiate. But what he finds there will become a turning point in his grey life. He knocks on the office window only to find the door ajar. He opens it and sees the building manager hunched over something on the floor. He realizes the man is devouring another person, and when he sees Tendo, he gives a ferocious growl. For some unknown reason, something clicks inside Tendo's mind and makes him fully aware of these feral humans. He runs away as fast as possible. He even slams onto a door opened by a zombie mum. He wonders what has happened. He knows that these creatures are zombies, but he has no idea how they happened or where they came from. The zombies run fast, but he runs faster. He has to, or else he'll be late for work. Somehow he ends up on the apartment rooftop. An airplane suddenly flies by low above his head. That's when he truly observes what is happening around him. One of the airplane's propellers is smoking, meaning the aircraft will soon crash. He can see multiple explosions happen in several buildings. On the ground, policemen are trying their best to hold off the zombies, but with no success. For a normal person, it's understandable that the conclusion to come up with is that it's the end of the world. But Tendo is different. He's been suffering from work culture. He's always wanted a reason to not go to work, and a zombie apocalypse definitely provides a valid reason. For the first time in 3 years, Tendo feels exhilarated. At last! He doesn't have to go to the office. He can finally see the world in multiple colours, even though those colours are the bright red of human blood. The thrill of running, of knowing that he won't spend another day in that boring, miserable office, gives him so much adrenaline that he jumps from the rooftop into a tree and lands on his 2 feet without any injuries. What a day indeed to finally see the blue skies, green trees, and bright red blood. He is just so happy to feel the rush of life again. It doesn't matter if hundreds of hungry zombies are after him. With a full grasp of the situation, he decides he doesn't want to spend the rest of his life regretting the things he wasn't able to do. So Tendo gathers his courage and adrenaline and bikes forcefully to Saori's apartment. Once there, he gets nervous. Is it okay to know the house of your co-worker with whom you've never really bonded before? Nah, whatever. This is now or never. He opens the unlocked door of Saori's apartment and lets himself in. The first thing he sees are male shoes, and when he looks up, he sees the hideous body of his CEO transforming into a zombie. There's no denying the implication of the CEO's presence here, but Tendo is resolute. He gives his resignation to his zombified boss, then spear tackles him until the monster falls from the window. After that, he looks around to find Saori, only to see her half naked, her eyes wild, and her mouth ready to devour. It hurts to know that's it too late, but he proceeds. Tendo confesses his feelings for the poor, pretty accountant. He wants to think that the last traces of humanity within Saori make her happy to hear a confession of love. But she has become a zombie. He runs away, fulfilled that he's said what he's always wanted to say. Night falls, but Tendo is still energetic after a day of running from the infected humans. Only a few places are left that are still safe. He reflects on his situation. He doesn't have to go to work anymore, which is like a dream come true. He also realizes that he may die later on, or 60 years from now on. Either way, there's not really enough time to do the things he's always wanted to do. So instead of lamenting what is lost, he should focus on what's left for him, and that is the time between now and getting eaten. He will not waste it. Buying a notebook and a pen, he makes a list of 100 things he wants to do before becoming a zombie. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.